Austraeoh by Imploding Colon, read by Deathlight, Chapter 166, Brood. Rainbow fell with a shriek, proving her lungs were still intact. The flame had blown above her plummeting skull, missing her by her melting foot. Sailing like a blue anvil towards the rebel chunks of architecture below. She angled herself eastward, stretched out her wings, and pulled up just in time to avoid becoming bloody paste against the white stones. As she skimmed the uneven surface of the mesa, the winged shadow swallowed her up. She looked up, breathless. All she saw was scales and claws. Then, glinting in the gray light of Sylvatal, there was a flash of teeth. Fire erupted towards her yet again. She just passed beyond the edge of the plateau. She dove down sharply, barely escaping the range of the infernal blast. Spiraling around, she dove between the two massive plateaus of Earth. The ash parted around her as a horrible wind kicked up. Her ears rang with a screeching noise. Peering behind her, Rainbow Dash saw something bright red and the size of a small house. With leery amber eyelids, a crimson dragon was zeroing in on her tail. The atmosphere rumbled with thunder upon each wing flap. And soon, the serpentine monstrosity was lunging at her with clamping jaws. Rainbow twirled to the side, dodging the bite, and kicked off the creature's neck. She flew sideways, awkwardly slamming into an earthen wall on the opposite mesa. The dragon lunged at her again. In her panic, Rainbow Dash tightened her wings to her sides and dove like a missile straight eastward. The dragon sailed into the rock above her, sending chunks of debris raining everywhere as the dragon dove in hot pursuit. Rainbow had very little chance to breathe. She was slicing through the air at multiple times the force of gravity. The world whistled past her ears, threatening to deafen her. With each banshee scream the dragon produced, she felt a growing and intense heat. Her coat hair started to curl on end. In desperation, she threw her body into a spiral and flared her wings at random. As a result, when she finally pulled up, it was in a direction the dragon couldn't possibly have predicted. It was good timing too. Rainbow Dash dodged the earth, flew through a forked cluster of rocks, and made for the outer edges of the Sylvadalian crater. To her delight, the ground shook with the dragon's cacophonous impact with the grey city ruins behind her. Rainbow took several wheezing breaths as she glided evenly. She gave the twin mesas behind her a forlorn glance. From a distance, she saw the crucified pony bodies burning with the dragon's arrival. There's no hope in saving the once suffering victim, especially as Rainbow witnessed the crimson monster climbing back up and getting ready for takeoff. With a whimpering sound, Rainbow Dash beat her wings faster and ascended as swiftly as she could. She tried to remember something that Twilight had once taught her in one of her many egg-headed ramblings. That dragons flew slower in the upper troposphere, praying that her tiny speed and agility could carry her to safety. Rainbow accelerated herself towards the lofty summit of the Sylvadalian smog cloud. She wasn't alone for long. She felt the thunderous distortions of the air as the crimson worm gave pursuit. As she approached the clouds, the gray banks reflected a bright red glow. The ash began melting in the air. Her wings fell there several times as hot jets of air caught up with her, smelling of dragon breath. Then, like a gentle sunrise, the light broke through the clouds above. Rainbow Dash thought it was the sky at first, but then she never knew the sky to have several flapping wings and sets of jaws. She gasped, her ruby eyes twitching as they reflected the shapes of 2, 4, 6, 8 draconian figures. Before her, the entire brood of dragons were descending. The sky was literally filled with them. The monsters carried several clusters of debris and junk in their talons, and they were all approaching Rainbow Dash, all returning from a journey. Oh jeez! If Rainbow Dash had tears, they would have evaporated. At least 10 sets of flaming breath converged on her at once. She hugged her limbs to her chest, forming an equine cannonball, and simply let gravity do its job. She plummeted past the first creature that had chased her, dodging its clamping jaws by a hair. As she reached terminal velocity, she unfolded her wings again and needled her way towards the heart of Sylvatal. Several thundering echoes sounded behind her. The grey world lit up with gold and flame as dozens upon dozens of roaring beasts rocketed after her in furious pursuits. She dove until she reached ground level and pulled up above the ruins. She looked back in time to see 12-fold dragons pulling up in identical fashion. The mammoth girth forming sonic craters against the sundered floor of desolation. With every beat of their wings, chunks of buildings, stone, and marble flew in opposite directions. The creatures formed a solid ravine, and they were soaring straight at her. Gritting her teeth, Rainbow Dash flew even lower and threaded her way through every tiny partition she could find. She bobbed and weaved around crumbling arches, bent towers, and hollow buildings. Fitfully she hoped the dragons might lose her amongst all the debris. They merely smashed their way through the rubble as if it was made out of tissue paper. Iron jaws snapped, flailing chunks of concrete to bits and spat them back into the ashen air, bulldozing their way through the mass behind Rainbow at breakneck speed. They roared and snapped at her rear limbs, filling the air with the rancid smell of their combined breaths. Rainbow Dash panted, tilting upwards in her flight and making for the edge of the slope of the crater. To her dismay, she felt her body slowing down. She was getting sucked backwards, and the air was heating up like a crucible. She gasped, in what was bound to be the stupidest decision of her life. She somersaulted and flung her wings straight out. She braked in mid-air, stalled, and twirled about. Stifling a scream, she flew directly into the phalanx of the pursuing dragons, just in time to avoid the burning breaths. Into the murderous stream of claws, teeth, and flame, Rainbow Dash sailed. She spun left, barreled, twirled right, weaved up and down, and zigzagged between blinks. She avoided every bite, claw swipe, and plume of flame with sheer luck. Finally, no less than 20 dragons converged on her, leaving no avenue of escape from their exhaling breaths. Gritting her teeth, Rainbow clamped both hooves over her pendants. White mane! Her eyes danced from white to yellow and back. And then she caught fire from mane to tail, she was scorched in agonizing flames. Her body turned into a smoldering comet that plummeted towards the earth with a dark black smoke trail. Rainbow's figure smashed through the top layer of debris like a torpedo. She bored through 2 walls of ashen debris, slammed off a wall, pinned off 2 other clusters of rock, and came to a rolling stop in a deep pocket of soot. After a few seconds, the flames finally dissipated, and in their place was a fluctuating prism of white energy. Rainbow Dash hissed and winced all over. However, her body was decidedly in one piece, saved by alicorn energy at the last possible moment. Quivering, she stretched out one forelimb after another and pulled herself weakly towards the shadows. Above, the dim ceiling of congealed rock and alabaster stone shook from the circling monstrosities. Rainbow had just made it into a tiny niche of rubble when a single dragon smashed through the debris. It stood deep beneath the dome of petrified rubble, glancing around the deep hollow looming beneath the ceiling. Rainbow Dash froze in place, sweating all over. Ruby eyes swam to the edge of their sockets, pulsating with each rapid heartbeat. Growling from deep within its burning chest, the dragon slithered forward. Each clawed foot shook through the chamber as it dragged its tail with a shower of sparks. An amber glow swam across the hollow like a searchlight as the dragon's eyelids narrowed. It lingered just a few feet behind Rainbow, tapping the solid bedrock impatiently while the sounds of his shrieking companion circled above the surface of Sylvatil overhead. Rainbow Dash gulped. She tried to inch away, but a deeper shiver was running through her. It was more than pure fear. It was... "No, please, please," she whispered below her breath, overcome by a deep dizziness. Her eyes were flickering back and forth between white and yellow as the hot world spun around her. "Not here, not now." The dragon crept closer. Rainbow fought to crawl out of sight, but her limbs became as limp as noodles. She felt like throwing up. She felt like... With a shriek, the dragon hopped and perched up on the ground above her. A single foot clamped over Rainbow Dash's prone body. She tried to breathe. All that came out of her compressed body was an agonized wheeze. Her eyes rolled back several times before she summoned the strength to look up at her fate. The dragon's neck crest flared. This jaws produced what could be best described as a grin as it arched his neck back. Prepared a flaming breath, then opened his maw straight at the Pegasus. It was precisely at that moment a brown figure in golden armor pounced upon the worm's head. With serrated horseshoes, the dark-haired stallion stabbed directly into the drake's eye. The dragon reared back, blowing fire at the ceiling instead of at Rainbow Dash. Before it had a chance to shriek, several arrows flew out of the shadows and impacted several times into its vocal cords. Rainbow coughed and sputtered, rolling over and watching in shock. The dragon writhed and thrashed about. It folded its wings upwards, using them like limbs to try to scratch the pony off. Relentless, the stallion dug in tighter with his horseshoes. Gray light shimmered off the dragon's skull helmet over his piercing green eyes. As he clung onto the dragon, he gave his shielded flanks a shake. On command, his golden arm extended outwards, revealing a dizzying array of sword hilts. He hoisted a silver blade on his left side, tossed it up in the air, regained its grip in his teeth, and stabbed the full length of the thing straight into the dragon's skull. One of the dragon's crimson neck crests was sliced clean off. It shrieked and fell forward onto the ground, bleeding boiling juices over the shredded bedrock. The stallion ripped his hooves out of the monster's eyes and ran down along its spine. As he did so, he sheathed the blade back into the side panel of his armor and shouted across the cavern. "Emberspeak, Swirls, grab the Pegasus!" "We got her, Sam!" A female voice replied. Rainbow suddenly felt herself being dragged easily into the shadows. Who? What? She reeled about, stumbling, to see two mares and a stallion peering out from even lower pits. How? "Move out of the way!" One pony shot the other two and aimed his crossbow. "Gotta give Sam Rose cover." "I think he's got us too." "Shh, you'll attract the others." "You're going to be okay," one mare said to Rainbow Dash, trying to steady her. "It's fine, we got..." She paused, squinting. "What's wrong with her eyes?" "Don't take..." Rainbow muttered, drifting and falling out of their grip. Don't take the pendant. Leave it. Just..." The world was spinning again. She twisted and turned. The last thing she saw before everything went black was the stallion in gold, unsheathing the huge bastard sword. Growling for good measure, then plunging the blade deep into the dragon's burning heart. Then the fire died.